Greetings, Guardians, and more likely neophytes to the world of Destiny. My name is Kame, and today we're going to be talking a bit about Destiny lore, and more specifically, about some of the primordial forces present within the game's universe, and how exactly it relates to our real-life interpretation of the Game of Life. In the universe of Destiny, most of the occurrences of the game take place within our solar system, commonly referred to as Sol. However, the details that we get on events that have taken place elsewhere within the galaxy and at large in the universe give important context to how characters such as the Guardians, humans or human-adjacent beings, that are able to wield a paracausal force, paracausal meaning to defy the understood nature of physics, called the Light, came to be. On the other hand, there's the Dark, which had been seen as evil for a large portion of the game's life, but more recently has been wielded by the Guardians. But more than that, it gives an explanation to many of the differing forces, enemy races, and factions, and perhaps even the true goal of the game's villain, the Witness. However, before we get too deep into other aspects of Destiny lore, let's refocus on the topic of today's video, the Gardener and the Winnower, and the Game of Life these two primordial forces play against each other. The Game of Life can best be described by looking at the real-life version, Conway's Game of Life. Rest in peace, Conway. The rules are as follows. Birth rule. An empty or dead cell with precisely 3 live neighbors, full cells, becomes live. Death rule. A live cell with 0 or 1 neighbors dies of isolation. A live cell with 4 or more neighbors dies of overcrowding. Survival rule. A live cell with 2 or 3 neighbors remains alive. The gameplay between the Gardener and the Winnower was strikingly similar. In the unveiling lore book released with the game's DLC Shadowkeep in 2019, we got more direct information about these two forces. The lore entry states that, once upon a time, a Gardener and a Winnower lived together in a garden. It was once before time, because time had not yet begun. We did not live. We existed as principles of ontological dynamics that emerged from mathematical structures as bodiless and inevitable as the primes. It was the field of possibility that prefigured existence. They existed because they had to exist. They had no antecedent and no constituents, and there is no instrument of causality by which they could be portioned into components and assigned to some schematic of their origin. If you followed the umbilical cord of history in search of some ultimate atavistic embryo that became them, you would end your journey marooned here in this garden. In the morning, the Gardener pushed seeds down into the wet loam of the garden to see what they would become. In the evening, the Winnower reaped the day's crop and separated what would flourish from what had failed. The day was longer than all of time, and the night was swifter than a glint and light of a falling sugar crystal. Insects buzzed between the flowers, and worms slithered between the roots, feeding on what was and what might be the first gradient in existence, the first dynamo of life. Rain fell from no sky, voices spoke without a mouth or meaning. A tree of silver wings bloomed, yielded fruit, shed feathers, bloomed again. In the day between the morning and the evening, the Gardener and the Winnower played a game of possibilities. The Gardener and the Winnower play a game, a beautiful dance between growth and culling. But what does this really mean? What are these entities, if they can even be called that? In short, these forces, which would be a more appropriate classification for them, are existence itself. They are as integral to the existence of the universe as the universe existing as itself is. And that right there allows us to define these two things, make them, shape them, into a new form that makes sense. The Gardener and the Winnower are, for lack of better words, light and dark. They are two aspects of the universe that are not only the result of its totality, but are also responsible for many of its inner workings. Light vies for growth and evolution, spreading culture and ideas, and allowing itself to bestow its grace upon different civilizations, different peoples. Dark vies for control, the elimination and subjugation of those it deems weak and unnecessary, so that the efficiency of the universe is more than optimized. It's formed into a final shape, that final shape being the strongest, and therefore the only ones worthy to exist within the entire expanse of the universe that is the garden. How this plays into the story of destiny is somewhat unexpected. The wills of these two forces have essentially formed tools of their goals from the nothingness, one of which being the Traveler, an envoy of the light, who has gifted humanity with powers and shelter unforeseen prior to his arrival, and secondly, the Witness, the blade of the darkness, herald of its will, the will to destroy all that is weak, and prepare for the ultimate shaping of finality. From what we've seen in the in-game events, and the new lore that we get every few months or so, it's safe to say that we've reached an inflection point. The Gardener and the Winnower have placed the final bets, and it's up to the Guardians or the Witness to win and prove their ideals once and for all.